Last week, I announced I'm going after the Guinness World Record for the fastest marathon in a suit. A few days later, I got a message from the guy who actually holds the record, Singapore's national marathon champion, Soh Rui Yong. He ran 2:39 in a full three-piece suit at the London Marathon, so naturally, I had to have a call. We talked about training, race day heat, stuffing gels into suit pockets, and why running fast in formal wear is way harder than it sounds. This episode's part prep, part therapy, and a glimpse into what I'm getting myself into. I'm Jason Hunt. This is a bonus episode of Execs Who Run, so let's dive in. Well, thank you very much for making some time to have a good chat, and I guess in the first place, it was quite cool that you kind of reached out. I think someone tagged you in my posts on LinkedIn, so that's how you found out. But
it's the power of LinkedIn, right? Supposed to connect the world. I mean, LinkedIn has become a bit of a cesspool of AI-generated content everywhere, but I think yours obviously stood out. And my friend Keith is a buddy of mine. So Keith, he's Australian, but he's got lots of Singaporean friends. Obviously, he's Asian ancestry, so we all kind of know Keith. He's doing great work in Australia. It seems he's a big running fan, so he tagged me in your post, and I think I saw it the next day. So when I clicked on it, this is super cool. This is a pretty good marathon runner who's going to go after the world record as well. So I guess I know that the podcast is supposed to be you asking me questions, but I'm curious how you got into that, because it's not really a record that comes to the top of people's minds. It's pretty cool.
No, and it's a bit of a funny story actually. So it must almost have been a year ago now. I was speaking to a guy who was the head of marketing for In Situ, which are the suit company that I'm partnering with to make the suit for the challenge.
Awesome.
He's no longer with them, but we were connecting. I don't even remember why, some completely random reason. And we got into talking about running and suits, and running in a suit kind of came up. I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of entertaining. I was like, surely there's a world record for that. So I kind of looked it up at the time and was like, okay. So this is before you'd taken it. And I was like,
to follow myself.
Oh yeah, like 240 seems like, I reckon that's kind of doable. I was like, that could be a bit of fun, but I've got other kind of marathon goals at the moment, so we'll see what happens. And then it just kind of went by the wayside, to be honest, until you did it in London and broke the record, and it kind of popped back into my head, and I was like, oh, awesome, like someone's still doing that, and like they just bettered it again, and I was like, it still doesn't quite fit into my plans, but obviously ran the Gold Coast and kind of ticked off my goal for the year from a time point of view, so it gave me a bit of kind of latitude to do something a bit different. And I was like, oh, surely. And so I literally just cold emailed one of the co-founders of In Situ and was like, hey, I was talking to your head of marketing a while back. Would you be keen on actually getting involved in doing something like this? And he came back pretty quickly like,
nice,
sure, let's make it happen. So
awesome. Yeah. Is it an Australian brand, In Situ? And I'm pronouncing
yeah. So
it's Australian.
Yeah, correct. They're a custom tailored suit company. It's pretty cool business. They've been growing pretty well, and there's stuff circulating around in the media around a sale or a purchase. They've got lots of big plans around what they want to do. But yeah, it's a pretty cool business, and great to be partnering with them, because in fact, I think I get to trial some of the suits this week, so it's pretty exciting.
And why the Sydney Marathon for you?
I think it's my local marathon. I live in Sydney currently, so that makes sense. It's the first year that it's going to be a major, and it's one of Guinness's official events as well, so that all just kind of makes it a lot easier, a bit like London was for you. So I think, and actually going back like 2018, there was an Australian guy who set the record in Australia at Sydney Marathon a while back. So there's even a little bit of history for this particular record as well. So it all kind of comes together as a nice place to do it. Hopefully it's not too hot.
Yeah. I guess it's a bit hit and miss, right? So on the subject of it being hot, I would just say it's sod's law, where you prepare for the worst possible date to have to do something like that. Because I raced London Marathon the last 2 years, and last year I was in a singlet and tights, and it was like 10 or 12 degrees, like freezing rain and wind. I literally had a puffer jacket on to the moment we had to run, and we were like shivering like that, and we took it off and ran. And while you're running, you're just getting battered by the wind and the rain, and you've finished it, and I was like cold, right? And I ran 2:24 in London, so it was a good run, but I just felt like I got battered by the wind the entire time, and I'm like, wow, that was a cold marathon. And then this year, of course, the year I decided to run it in the suit, we had the third hottest London Marathon in history, like zero wind, zero clouds in the sky. So the sun is just beating down. We don't start early in London, or we start at 9:35 a.m. in the morning.
Mm.
So by the time you're finishing, it's like afternoon, literally the direct noon sun beating down. Everyone is flagging, everyone is dying. I was in a weird spot because I actually had a very strong 30 to 35K and I passed like a ton of people. But then I started to blow up. And when you blow up in the suit, it sucks because when it gets warmer and warmer throughout the race, when it increases 1 degree and you're in a singlet and shorts, then it gets warmer by 1 degree. When it gets warmer by 1 degree and you're in 3 layers and every layer is soaked and every layer is weighing heavier and you're wearing long pants, it feels like it's 3 degrees warmer every time the temperature climbs at 1 degree. So I think that was the main challenge. So I had a very strong 30 to 35K, and then I had a very bad the 40K, and then everyone I was just keep passing me back, and they weren't even going that fast. So it was pretty hilarious. But yeah,
I'm curious. I'd like to talk about your kind of running pedigree and history a little bit further soon, but just to set it up a little bit. So you've got like a 2:23 marathon PB, so pretty quick, the national record for Singapore, in fact.
I was so the national my time was 2:22:59. I think 2:23 was the gun time, and then
Yeah.
it was time was 2:22:58 or something like that, and gun time was 2:23. So yeah, I think that last 200 meters I was really sprinting to get under 2:23.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and like that race, Valencia is a great marathon, right? So I think that was
a perfect place to do it.
Yeah, great memories of that race. But yeah, I think the question is always, and you ran fantastic in Gold Coast from what I understand. You ran was it 2:24?
Yeah.
Amazing. And you guys had a good day at Gold Coast this time, right? Because Gold Coast can go either way. Like sometimes it's hot and windy, and
Yeah.
sometimes
It
nice.
it wasn't too windy, which was good. It was a little bit warm. We were still in kind of, I think it was pretty constant because there was a bit of cloud cover, but I think it was about 16 degrees and about 85% humidity the whole time. So it wasn't beautiful marathon conditions, but it was good enough for the Gold Coast because you never get a perfect day there.
Right. I think the best we can hope for is cloud cover because the Australian sun can really beat down.
Oh yeah. It can be pretty brutal. What I'm keen to understand is kind of what your mindset. Well, actually, what we'll start with is why did you decide to do it yourself? Same question that you asked me.
Well, I mean, I just answered this question at a boss event recently, so it's actually fresh in my memory. But I had run 16 marathons before the Suit Marathon. And honestly, I was getting a bit bored, right? Marathons are, they're very exciting when you first start doing them. But after a while, the novelty is kind of lost on yourself. And London is always a fantastic race every single year. But at the same time, I had a bit of a relationship with Hugo Boss back home in Singapore. I had done some corporate keynote speaking for them in the past. Good relationship. Their marketing team is fantastic. They're very on the balls when we were talking about potential projects we could do together. Floated this idea to the managing director, Stephen Lam. Stephen, right away, he was like, that's fantastic. Great idea. Let's do it. I remember thinking to myself, shit, what did I just talk myself into? I'm like, now I actually thinking about it sounds pretty hard. Then I looked at the world record at 2:40. It's not a bad time, There are some days you get a bad day. You can be wearing running clothing and you can't run 2:40 if you're having a really bad day. So shit, I need a good day. And if I have a bad day, this could go really bad. I could be running like 3 hours or whatever it is. So
yeah.
So yeah, I guess these are probably some useful tips for yourself as well. I'm sure that you know what you're doing, but I trained with multiple layers. Like I didn't wear a suit for every single run because you don't want to be that weird idiot in the park running in a suit every week and everyone looking at you. So I would wear multiple layers: t-shirt, zip, half zip, and then a jacket, and then long tights when everyone else is t-shirt and shorts, a singlet and shorts, and you just bear with the heat, deal with the heat. I'm Singaporean, so I'm very used to running the heat and humidity. You're Australian, so half the time you're running in the heat. I'm guessing you run in pretty hot conditions. I think Australians are. You're from New Zealand.
I'm a Kiwi, but I've been in Australia for the last 2.5 years now. So done a few summers of summer running here, but I wouldn't say I'm fully adapted.
So it's cooler in New Zealand, is that right? Is it a lot cooler in New
Yeah, for
Zealand?
sure. We don't have the same humidity as here either.
I see. I see. Okay. But
Mm.
yeah, eventually, I remember I was like, okay, let's just get fit, right? And figure it out from there. Because I did a Houston Marathon in January to qualify for the Southeast Asian Games. I got that done. But the Houston Marathon came after the Singapore Marathon in December. So I had 7 weeks between. So I was
Yeah.
pretty cooked. I was pretty damn cooked after Houston. And Houston was -2 degrees at the start, strong winds and everything, the complete opposite of London. In fact, that would have been great for a super marathon because then I'm actually going to be
Mm.
warm and running. Then it wasn't until late February when I started to train up again because I needed a big recovery period from 2 marathons in 7 weeks. And then I got to, it was only end of March that I started feeling like myself again. And then the marathon was coming up at the end of April. So but definitely a truncated build up. But managed to get myself in a good state, put myself in the starting line, and I was just, all right, all we need is a good weather day, and then we're going to do it. And obviously, we ended up with the worst weather possible. Like, the race was sending us emails, like, the week off, we got like 2 or 3 emails saying, it's going to be hot. If you were going to do this in fancy dress, please rethink your options. This might not be the best day to
Oh
do that.
god.
Please adjust your pacing. This is not what you want to be reading to get yourself in the right mental state. But the point is, you know what? This is the opportunity to do it. What's the worst thing that can happen?
Mm.
You DNF, you make a fool out of yourself. What? Right. But so I stood on the starting line with sweat trickling down the back of my head. Haven't even started doing the race yet. Whatever, let's just send it and see what happens. So yeah,
Oof.
if I could do anything different, I'd probably have gone out more conservative because it's so easy to get
Mhm.
carried away in London. The crowds are amazing. I'm sure you have the same in Sydney, but they go crazy for people in fancy dress here. And I was
Mm.
the first fancy dresser. I was in a suit. I was running with like the two. Yeah, I was running. At one point, I was running with like 236 to 238 kind of crowd. So
Yeah.
that's pretty quick, right? Even as a club runner, that's pretty quick.
It's very quick. Yeah.
A bunch of club runners, and then a bunch of really good female runners, and then there's myself in a suit, and people go, wait, what's going on? What's that? And then, but once they realized that, once they processed it, they went crazy. They were, oh my god, he's in a suit, and there's bang, there's crazy the whole way. So much cheering, you feel like a rock star, and then it's so easy to get. I was trying to keep my heart rate down, but it was really difficult because
Yeah.
like all the kids are yelling for you. They want to give you high fives, and then the fans are all cheering for you. It's amazing. So I really enjoyed that day till the last 7K, and that pretty hellish last.
Yeah, what were the other runners around you thinking? They're some of them probably trying to go for a PB and very
Yeah.
respectable times.
Yes.
And
yes.
here's you beside them jogging along in a suit. Like, what were they thinking? Did you have conversations?
I did have conversations. Well, one of my friends, I actually ran with my friend Anna Lawson, she was third in the Manchester Marathon in 2024, which is one of the best marathon runners in the UK, really, like better than almost all the guys in our club, the Club and Chasers. Our club is a pretty strong club, but as a lady, if you're breaking 240, you're pretty damn good. So yeah, I ran with her, and she looked like she was pretty amused at what was happening, and she was getting a lot of cheers as well because we were running together for half the race. But after the race, she went on the podcast and said, "Yeah, I thought it was a bit rude of Rui to be jogging around in the suit. I was trying my hardest, and here he was next to me jogging around in the suit." Yeah, I'm sure she said it in jest.
Oh.
But that's an interesting
Yeah.
question because I think that the fans loved it, and most runners will love it. But I'm sure there'll be 1 or 2 runners who will be a little bit annoyed, especially when they're trying their best and then they see you or myself running along in 3-piece suit because it looks like you're taking the piss. But yeah,
I think you are a little bit, right? But I think it's all part of it. Yeah.
exactly.
And what I'm keen to understand is what kind of time did you have in mind? So let's assume that you were going to get a more ideal day in London because the heat obviously impacted things a lot. Like I've been trying to think about what kind of conversion from my regular marathon time, what should I expect with a suit marathon? Like, what thinking did you go through there?
I think it's just so individual because, like you said, like with super shoes, for example, you can kind of tell, okay, if you wore super shoes versus no super shoes, maybe the difference is, let's say it's 4 minutes, right? But even then, there are responders and then there are non-responders. So this is not a suit, right? Sorry, this is not a pair of super shoes. This is a whole suit. And there's so many factors that come into play, like you weigh more, that you experience more heat exhaustion. you experience more dehydration, and psychologically, what kind of impact is it going to play on you?
Mhm.
And the thing about running a marathon in the suit is, we talk about hitting the wall when you're running a marathon. When you're running in the suit, you don't hit the wall. The wall hits you at some point. And when it hits you, things go downhill really quickly. So I think that's the main thing, the main challenge. But having done it once, I think if I were to do it again, I would have a lot more experience. Obviously, any experience is better than zero. But I think that this is
For
one of
sure.
those this is one of those things where I think the strategy is just so important. Where do you put your gels? How do you secure your suit?
Mm.
So I originally planned to run in the button up. It's 3-piece, so you button it up so that you're as aerodynamic as you can be. But on that day, it was just so hot that I thought that buttoning it up would be just 3 layers of heat just packed there. So I spoke to the officials right before the start. I was like, do I have to button up my kit, or can I leave it open? And they read through the rules. They're like, oh, it doesn't say anything. I guess you can keep it open. I'm like, all right, because it's really, really hot today, I'm going to keep it open. So I kept it open. So, but the thing is that it's not, while it feels cooler, it's not very aerodynamic because suit is like swinging from left to right. So you have to get used to that kind of stuff, like the rhythm. Like it's slapping the left side, it's slapping the right side, like bang, 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 bang. And then the good thing is that you get multiple pockets. So I put like gels in all the pockets, but then the gels started like flapping around as well. So it was also actually quite irritating. But now that we're getting into the nits and the nooks and crannies of the experience, all these memories are coming back. So, and then it's like, you get water. Like, do you pour it over your head? Because you can pour it over your head. If you're wearing a singlet, it just bounces off of you. When you're wearing like a suit, it cools down your head, but then it gets absorbed into the suit. So now your suit weighs more. It doesn't evaporate very quickly. So yeah, those are all the challenges. I feel like maybe I shouldn't tell you all these things so that you can experience it for the first time. I feel like I'm spoiling it for you. And maybe it would be more fun for you to go in there not knowing, but I guess you're going to practice in it anyway. So
I'm sure it's going to be an experience nonetheless. Yeah, I'm planning on running City to Surf, which is like the local fun run. It's one of the biggest of the world. Like 80,000, 90,000 people do it here in Sydney.
yeah.
14 Ks. It's next weekend, so that's going to be
you're
kind
gonna
of
do
the
it. It's
debut.
amazing. Okay, so you get a taste of what is amazing.
Yeah, that's the plan anyway.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it should be fun. Tell me a little bit about the suit. Did you have anything like specially done to it, or what kind of suit was it that you
But
kind of chose for your attempt?
yeah, it was a Boss performance suit, so it's 4-way stretch. It's way more flexible than
Mhm.
a woolen suit or a typical like business. It's not like it. It's a suit that you can wash in the washing machine on cold water, and when you come out, you don't
Yeah.
even have to iron it. So it's a
Mhm.
very, very practical suit, which is why they got me to market it in the Southeast Asian region, because it's very, very hot in Southeast Asia. So there was a lot riding on the attempt, because if I failed, then it would be nowhere near as marketable. Because I succeeded and got the world record. Like now, if you go to any of the Boss stores in Southeast Asia, you can see a small little packet of my face on it on the table and next to the suits. Yeah, I'll send it to you later.
So good.
So the poster says the Boss performance suit marathon proven, and then in small text it tells a story about my Guinness World Record marathon. So that's pretty damn cool,
That's pretty
right?
cool.
Yeah. Then we
Yeah,
organized
for
a
sure.
little get together back in Singapore, and the running community and the track community came to watch a panel of myself on the panel. So it was pretty cool. Like, it's not often that a luxury brand like Boss comes into the realm of track and field and marathon running.
Mm.
Marathon running, we're not generally very luxurious or fashionable people. I don't know where they looked around you, but yeah, so it's pretty cool. Made a difference on that end, and happy to keep it going. And yeah, who knows? We'll try again, because I know that 239 was very proud of that performance, but at the same time, I was proud of it because of everything I had to overcome to achieve that and be the first guy in
Yeah.
the 240 in the suit. But at the same time, I also know there's a lot of room for improvement. And I mean, logically speaking, it was less fun. It would be quicker. So it sounds a bit of a pipe dream, but I would like to one day run sub 230 in a suit. I think that would be a super big flex. At the same time, we're all playing around in a realm that's relatively undiscovered. If Yuki Kawauchi at his best were to register with the Guinness World Record books and try and run a marathon in a suit, I'm pretty sure he would have demolished whatever I ran. So there's that.
Oh, totally. Maybe we need to get Yuki on board, because that would be pretty cool to see him do that. But hopefully I can go out there and take your record off you
Yeah, yeah,
to force you to have to do it again, and maybe we find a
yeah.
race to actually go at it together.
So this was actually, I think, the third big attempt. I'm sure there are people running in suits all around the world, but there were 3 attempts. Yours would be the third attempt. The first one was by a French guy, not the French guy who held it previously, but his mate. So he tried in the Paris Marathon, and he was way ahead of 240 pace up to 32K. And when he hit the wall hard. He went from
Oh,
way above pace to he eventually ran mid 240s, 244, 245,
yeah,
something like that. And that was 3 weeks before London. So I remember looking at that, I'm like, "Fuck, that could be me." so, so I was like, it's gonna be hard, but you're never safe. I think that's the thing. You're never safe.
mm,
That mentality should apply in every marathon anyway, but especially when you're in the suit, because when you bomb out in the suit, you bomb out way harder. Like literally bomb out 3 times harder because you're wary so much more. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But it's fun. It'd be a really fun experience. How many marathons
yeah.
have you run?
You're making me slightly terrified at the same time. Uh, this will be my 5th marathon, so
Oh,
still pretty early in my marathon career. It was actually I prior to the Gold Coast, I hadn't run a marathon in about 18 months. I'd been sick and injured and whatnot. So the Gold Coast was quite a big race for me. It was kind of, getting to the start line first and foremost was pretty special because it had been such a long time, and I knew I had a good performance in me, and so all of that kind of came together, and then for it to actually happen was pretty cool. So it was nice to get that done.
and you
But yeah,
run to
now
prepare for how many kilometers a week do you run to prepare for a performance like that? You Gold Coast?
yeah, so I'm probably at the lower end of miles in terms of marathon runners out there. So I think at my peak in this training block, I ran maybe 125 Ks and supplemented with maybe a swim or two or an easy ride or something like that. I used to do triathlon, so being able to dip into doing those for a bit of cross training is always nice. But yeah, somewhere around that kind of 120 is usually kind of the top end of what I have done in the past. So it seems to do it for me.
Yeah. Well, you're ahead of me because before I broke the world record in the last 10 weeks, I think my average was about 100 kilometers. So yeah, if you're
Yeah.
doing 120s,
Yeah.
you have a bit of a leg up on the endurance side of it. And I think if anything, the best way to put it is that if you're running a marathon in the suit, it's not 42K, it's more like 45K because
Yeah.
just the physiological demands, you're out there longer and stuff. So yeah, just be a bit
Yeah,
more
for sure.
prepared.
I'm hoping that my fitness carries because I've done very little running since
Yeah,
the Gold Coast.
you
So
gotta recover.
I figure there's only 8 weeks between, and even if I did no running, I probably still hold a fair bit of fitness. So
Yeah.
yeah, it should be all right. But we will see how that goes. But
Yeah.
I get the sense that you're a little bit of a celebrity in the running world in Singapore. I think you have the 5, the 10, the half, and the marathon national record currently. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Tell me how you kind of got into running in the first place.
Well, very fortunate, first of all, that Singapore is a relatively smaller country. So just if you semi-talented and you work hard enough, it's really easy to make it to the top. But I must say that when I was like 17 years old and I made it to the top, I ran 16:10 for 5,000 meters, and that was the top time in Singapore that year for 5,000 meters. So making it to the top doesn't mean you're going to be anywhere near the records, because I think, first of all, we have a relatively small population base, but even if you're looking at America or Australia, there will be periods of time where you go through periods where, America 10 years ago, they were not winning that many medals in global distance running, and now look at them. Now it is.
Now they're winning all of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, exactly. Now like
Yeah.
the Grand Fisher, 5K, 10K medals, world records for indoors with 3K, 5K. The 1,500 meter team is amazing. Like, Cole Hocker
Yeah.
and the Eric Negus, gold and
Negus
bronze.
didn't
in the
even make-
Olympics. And Negus did make the team yesterday. That's crazy. Almost
Crazy,
didn't make the
right?
team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to, and now in Singapore, if you don't break 16 minutes, you're not going to be within the first 7 or 8 guys. So the standard has gone up so much since I was a 17-year-old kid in high school. And I think that is in those parts, perhaps athletes like myself, pushing that boundary, driving it on, when they see And when I broke the 5,000 meter record, for example, I did it in Singapore on the practice track outside National Stadium, the crappy ass track, like 30 degrees, like everything. But because people were able to witness that, they believed that it was possible for Singaporeans to like run sub 14 minutes, like 15 minutes, 14:44 on almost so level. So then people start to elevate their performance. And I think that a lot of that came down to just seeing is believing. And when I started running way back when I was like 12, 13 years old, accompanying my mom to run laps around the local reservoir park, and joined a cross-country team when I was in secondary 1, and wasn't anywhere near the best. My first cross-country race, I was in 50th position. Because the more I trained, the better I got. And I think it's very encouraging when you start to pass people, and you see, oh, if I work hard, I go from 50th to 6th, and then 6th to 4th, and then 4th to 4th, and then 4th to 1st, or whatever it might be. And and after I finished with school, I was already among the top few men. And as a 18-year-old boy, you can compete with the men. That's always a cool shout. So I decided to keep it going, especially after military service. Military service actually kills a lot of our talent in Singapore sports, and so that's the big drawback of being a Singaporean man. But the competition is not as high as it is many other places in the world, and the competition is further killed by 2 years in the military, because if you're fit going to the military, you can't train for 2 years. When you come out, you're way slower than it used to be. It's like most people are just like, yeah, whatever, just go on and throw a frisbee in university and socialize with the girls or whatever, whatever it is. But if you really want to be good at running, it's so much of a painful sport. You got to sacrifice, you got to train, and I just found myself doing that, and I did it for long enough and made it to the top. So, but the main driver was I wanted to break national record. I wanted to represent my country at the Southeast Asian Games and win a couple of gold medals. So, so 10,000 was the year 2014. I got the half. I got the marathon in 2019, and eventually got the 5 in 2021. So it was a bit of a 10 half marathon, and then went back to 5 somehow.
It's very cool, and interesting what you bring up around national service getting in the way of that, because I was actually nowhere near what you go through in Singapore, but I was in the reserves during university here in New Zealand, back in New Zealand, I should say. And I had only just started running kind of at university. So my first year at university was kind of when I started running, and I did my kind of basic training that holidays at the end of the year. And I remember going into it because I was still pretty fit at the time, and I was talking to people who were going there and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, "Oh, going and do that would be great for your training." I'm like, "Nah, I'll probably lose fitness going to the military compared to what I'm doing now." And that's not to say that what you do in the military is not hard. It's just very different, right? Like you're running or you're walking around with packs and you've got weight and whatnot, which is very different than a skinny runner going out there and just trying to run fast. And it's a fascinating kind of comparison that people go, "Oh, I thought everyone in the military was fit," and like they are. It's just a very different fitness to trying to be a distance runner, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a specific nature of fitness, right? So actually, one of the reasons why I got better known in Singapore was once in 2021, I challenged because there was all this talk about how the skinny runners running, but they wouldn't last in a race against our commandos, whatever, the elite military force. And the commandos are better. All these things are being said without any proof at all. So I organized this thing called the Pocari Sweat 2.4 kilometer challenge. So it's 6 laps, and the challenge is to go under 7 minutes. Because there were all these like military guys saying, "Oh, in the commandos, like they run below 6 minutes, below 7 minutes for 2.4 kilometers all the time." It's just like old wives' tales that got out of hand. And I'm like, below 6 minutes. Like, do you know what below 6 minutes means? You could be in the Olympic Games, literally.
World record pace, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's no chance, but they don't want to hear it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna organize a challenge. I invite anyone to come down, and if you run below 7 minutes, I'll pay you. I'm going to challenge all the commandos to come down, since you guys are talking the most about it. It went viral in Singapore. It came to the point where the commandos, because they're very proud people. That's how you get into special forces, right? You're a very proud person. For sure. There's a lot of ego involved, which is fine. You're going to fight a war. I want these people fighting on my side. But, sometimes ego gets in the way of common sense. So I said, come down, and they were like, "Oh, God, this skinny guy's challenging us, and I go fight back." And then they I had some friends in commandos at that point of time, and they were literally being kept in camp over the weekend to run 2.4 kilometers continuously because they couldn't find anyone that could run 2.4 kilometers
Fast
under
enough.
7 minutes, which was hilarious. But obviously, they hated me after that. But yeah, it comes back to the point. Combat fitness is one thing, like specific running fitness is another thing. Just as the best soccer player in the world wouldn't be beating the best tennis players in the world, like the best military soldier is not going to be the best runner in Singapore. I mean, and for people who don't do anything and they go into the military, naturally to get fitter because you're doing nothing and then you're doing something.
For
Like
sure.
you're already
Yeah.
running a lot and then you're going to the military and doing less, then naturally you get less fit. And I think that's the problem that a lot of top Singapore athletes face. Like our Olympic champion Joseph Schooling in swimming, he had a deferment so he could win his Olympic Games before he eventually served in the military. And once he served in the military, like
Mhm.
that was the end of his swimming career. Like
Mm.
even he couldn't make it work. So yeah, it's just it's a national discussion and debate whenever it comes up again because on one hand you want to make it such that it's fair for all the men in Singapore. Like if one person serves, everyone serves. If you start making exceptions, then people start to compare and protest and yada yada. But if South Korea can make exceptions and Son Heung-min, the best
Mm.
Asian footballer ever, was allowed to further his football career before he served in basic training, and they're effectively at war with North Korea. They
Yeah.
can balance it and make it happen. Like we should be able to do that, but I don't know how much experience you've had in Singapore. We're not the most flexible or adaptable society, unfortunately. So yeah, we do a lot of things right, but there are a lot of things that we could do better, and this is one of them.
Mm. And what is next for you as a runner then? I know you're currently in London and I think you're studying over there potentially, but what's next for you from a running perspective?
I'm currently working on my MBA, so I'll be done. I'm almost done actually. I only got 6 more classes. I've been running my Run So Fast Academy alongside. So this is where I coach people in marathon running. Maybe you and I should set up a suit marathon training program for people who want to look good running marathons in the suit because it's a very specific skill set. Do keynote speaking, consult in sports. It's my own thing, and I'm a kind of guy that
Mm.
if I'm working for myself and my own business, I tend to enjoy the work and I can work a lot harder and enjoy the work. I can work 15 hours a day for myself, but if I'm working for someone else, generally I don't find that same kind of fun. I'm not gonna work 15 hours a day for someone else. So that's just
For
been
sure.
me, and I enjoy what I'm doing. So, and I'm still able to run competitively, even though I'm turning 34 in 3 days' time. So
Mhm.
I've been just trying to draw a lot of inspiration from guys like Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, Novak Djokovic, these guys who can play well into their late 30s and 40s, and we're runners, so we don't even have to like
Mm.
withstand tackles from opposing players or whatever. We just maintain our fitness, our bodies, be
For sure.
disciplined, and I think I'm inspiring people because I think in Singapore back home, people usually start to deteriorate after the age of 21 or 22 or 23. Like, I remember when I went for my first national team on the Southeast Asian Games team at the age of 23. I was one of the younger guys in the team. And then 2 years later, I was 26 for the next SEA Games in Malaysia. And I was literally the oldest guy on the team. So I was like, what happened in the last 2 years? How did I go from being like 23 and 10 months and one of the younger guys on the team to being 26 and the oldest guy in the team? So yeah, like people just retire. People just bang, they retire. Past the age of 25 is all
Mm.
retirement, and I get it. Like in Singapore, it's a very transactional society where people care a lot about finances and money and
Yeah.
things are expensive, and the culture is that people kind of judge you based on how much money you make. And there's not so much of an appreciation for what you do, like sports. Oh, you do sports, like how much money can sports pay you, for example? So with
Yeah.
that culture pulling you away from sport all the time, it's no surprise that we don't have a huge depth of people continuing to do it into their older years. But I think I'm starting to show that you can do it at a high
Mm.
performance level for a long time, and it makes your life better, right? Like you meet friends, you keep healthy, you keep fit. Is it easier to make a living from it if you are the best in your own patch or you are a good coach or whatever it might be? So from my experience, I've been able to make a bit of money from running, but I've also been able to make a bit a bit of money from coaching, and I think that I enjoy it. In general, I'm quite good at it, but there's always room to improve. So it's really about improving myself as a motivator, as a leader, as a coach, and helping people bring the best out of themselves. And yeah, it's
Mm.
something that I'm looking forward to doing in the future.
It's very cool. And yeah, you no need to hang up your running shoes anytime soon. You know, comparing us to some of the greatest of all time, but you know, Bekele and Kipchoge, who will be in
Cool.
Sydney as well, are running in their 40s and still running
Oh, it's
very,
Bekele
very
there.
fast.
It's Bekele there.
Bekele's not coming, but Kipchoge is.
Kipchoge is coming.
He's ripping the 40 plus
Yeah,
runners
yeah.
and seeing how he goes.
I'll send you a photo. So like he was here in London actually, and
Mhm.
I met him I've known him for like 13 years. Or I was very fortunate to meet him before he became a marathon runner. So I went to visit him at his
Very
hotel.
cool.
Had a photo taken
Ah,
with him in one of my boss suits, and obviously him in
Yeah.
his Nike attire. And then we both ran out. We both had pretty good races on Sunday. So that was extremely cool.
amazing. I'm gonna
Gratitude.
try my hardest to harass him when he comes down to Sydney and see if I can say hello.
Yeah, tell him Rui from Singapore is a friend of yours, and I think he'll give you the time of day.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. Hey, well, I'll wrap up because you've very kindly fit me in between going out for a long run in London. So really, really appreciate you coming and have a conversation.
Thank
Really,
you.
really appreciate the support that you've shown as well for me attempting this. It's pretty cool.
I want to grow a whole community around this. I want this to be a super popular competition, and it can only be a sought after competition and a watched platform when there are multiple protagonists going for this goal. So Emmanuel from France, he's great. Send me congrats after I got the record. I think there's another French guy who also tried for it last year. I have no doubts that this year rather. I have no doubts that he will try for it again. So it's super cool that it's not just two Frenchmen and myself, and there's also you. There's a Japanese guy in China who is running in the low 240s with the suit. So he's also knocking on the door of greatness. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Amazing.
It's kind of a fragmented society all over the world, but there's a Japanese guy, there's yourself, there's myself, and there are two French guys who are all within the same kind of zones. But yeah, part of
That's
it is like
pretty cool.
being fit, part of it is finding the right race, and part of it is you need to go to a race where Guinness World Records is there to verify the attempt. Otherwise, guess what? It doesn't count.
It's a bit harder, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to be running sub 230 this time. I'll give you that for sure. But
We'll try.
I'm kind of keen on the sub 230 idea at some point as well. So we'll have to try and make that happen.
Sounds good.
Amazing.
All right, man.
Hey, well,
All the
thank you very
best.
much for your time, Rui.
Yeah, feel free to reach out for any tips or whatever. I'm not gonna keep any secrets. So yeah, just be prepared that it's gonna suck at some point, and you gotta be tough.
Oh, I'm now well prepared. So yeah, hopefully I don't get a super hot day in Sydney. And,
Yeah,
and it doesn't go too bad.
that's the sport. Unfortunately, So you're not trying to break, I don't know, some like whole record, get $1 million for it, and then it gets hot, right? Like this is kind of like, it's cool if you
It's
get
all
it,
part
but
of it.
otherwise, yeah, they're gonna be many more opportunities in the future.
That was Soh Rui Yong, national record holder, super marathon world record breaker, and all-round legend. Massive thanks to Rui for reaching out and sharing the honest truth about what it takes to run fast in 3 layers. I've definitely got my work cut out for me, but also I'm now even more excited. If you want to follow along as I gear up for the attempt at the Sydney Marathon, head over to my Instagram or LinkedIn, and if you're keen to support, the Movember fundraising page is linked in the show notes. And hey, if you're thinking about running a marathon in a suit too, maybe listen to this again before you commit. Anyway, catch you soon.